So something I've wanted to go over for a while is what is my actual dev setup. So I am currently on a Windows machine and I do the vast majority of my work on this computer, and the way I do it is using WSL. So I like Windows a lot because I have to use the sort of more heavyweight programs on it. I need to use the Creative Cloud, I need to use that sort of thing, and that doesn't really work on a Linux environment. And I don't have a Mac desktop because, it's rare, but occasionally I do want to use Steam or something like that. So I want a Windows desktop, but using Windows itself for development kind of sucks. It's really terrible. I hate PowerShell. I really don't like the Windows way of doing things in there. Package management sucks. Handling all of your stuff really sucks. It's just not fun. But they sort of solved this a few years back with WSL. So that's what I actually use. If you're not familiar with WSL, WSL is the Windows subsystem for Linux. It's effectively a little Linux machine that you can just install into your Windows machine and then spin up whenever you want and access it via a terminal. So what I have down here is I have the Windows terminal. If I open this up, it's going to boot me into my Ubuntu instance. So I have a little Ubuntu machine running within my computer, and this is where I do all my development. So I ls in here, you can see I have just the standard stuff. I have a downloads folder, a documents folder, and so on and so forth, and I do everything within here. So let's go ahead into my documents folder. Let's go to projects, and let's go to videos. So if we look in here, you can see some of the stuff I've been working on, some of the stuff I've been making for videos and that kind of thing. And like I said, I do everything in here, and I have all of my tools installed into WSL. So I have Go in here, I have NPM in here, I have Node in here. I've got all this stuff set up and working, and if I want to actually edit these and work with them, all I have to do is do code, and let's just do the Fiber Mongo example. We open this up, this will open up my VS Code instance. I obviously use VS Code for my editor, and then I have WSL Ubuntu down here, so that means that this is actually running within a WSL instance instead of on a normal Windows instance. So that's why my terminal down here, why I'm able to use Unix commands, because I'm technically in an Ubuntu environment right now. I have Homebrew on here, I have all the sort of niceties that you get by using Linux, while also getting all of the benefits of Windows itself, which I think is a sort of best of both worlds thing. I think this is probably my favorite way to develop right now because you kind of just get everything in one. So then getting into my sort of editor setup, I obviously use VS Code. It's just the predominant, basically everyone uses it. It has great support for Go, great support for TypeScript, and those are really the two languages I write at this point, so it's perfect for me. So I use the GitHub Dark default. When I was testing out Copilot, they used this theme and I really liked it, so I just adopted it and downloaded it for myself. I think it works really well. It looks really good to me. So that's the theme I use. And then the big sort of change I have within here that's sort of different from what most people would do is I use Vim emulation. So a lot of people like NeoVim and that kind of thing, which I respect, I get. Personally, I like this sort of setup of VS Code, but I kind of get best of both worlds with the Vim emulation. So I emulate Vim, and then I set up some custom keybinds, like if I hit space and then K, I can jump between different files that I have open. So I did some stuff like that, and it works really well for me. So I have Vim in here, I have WSL in here, the WSL extension, and then I have the Astro support, I have code spell checker because I can't spell at all. It's a problem. Copilot, I actually really like Copilot. I have found that it is sort of just really, really good autocomplete. And a lot of the sort of boilerplate nonsense that I sort of forget, I'm looking at Go right now, there's a lot of boilerplate nonsense in here. Sometimes when I forget, oh, is it cursor.decode or what do I cursor. Like, it fills in some of the nonsense for me, and I really like that about it. I don't use this for large scale stuff, but if I'm just like, okay, I need to make a database call from Prisma or something, and I just type out, okay, fetch the most recent user based on their ID, it'll just do it for me. So I really like Copilot. I think it works really well. I've kind of integrated it into my workflow, like it a lot. The Go extension, this is an incredible extension. The Go and VS Code integration is beautiful. I love how it works. The two are basically built for each other. It's fantastic stuff. Some Python stuff, Markdown. Prettier is a must. Prisma is a must. And then, yeah, those are the main ones. Oh, and Tailwind, IntelliSense. So I use this so that whenever I'm typing out my classes, it'll tell me give me the options in there. So very nice stuff. Nothing too crazy in here. The big things are just the Vim emulation, and then for my HTTP client, I like Thunder Client. A lot of people use Postman. Personally, I like having it built into the editor. This has everything I need. It works really well. It looks really good. I don't need some heavyweight thing. I just need to be able to send HTTP requests to some endpoint, and this gets the job done. And that's kind of it. That's the main sort of bulk of my local dev environment. There are a few other tools I use, like I use MongoDB Compass. So I do a lot of MongoDB development. So I use Compass to actually mess with the data itself. It's basically just a local version of the Atlas console, if you're familiar with that. This thing works really, really well. I really like it. Postman, I use it occasionally, not all that much, but I use it when I need to. So I use ZSH for my shell, I use OhmyZSH to actually manage it and update it, and then I use Power Level 10K for my theme. Whole thing is very easy to set up. I use Homebrew for most of my package management stuff, and I think that's about it. Something that I'm going to try and incorporate in here is Docker. It's something that I've been putting off learning, but I need to learn, so Docker will get added in here. But WSL integrates that very nicely, and I guess one last thing is going to be to show you is one of the weirdest things about WSL is you're actually creating a separate computer within your computer. It's this whole separate VM instance, but it port forwards everything really nicely. So if I do go run main.go, this will be fully accessible from my browser. So it's going to yell at me that I can't get this slash, but it's receiving that 404 down here. So I get the 404 down here, and they port forward together. Whole thing is just a seamless experience. If you are on Windows and you are kind of sick of dealing with a lot of Windows' nonsense, give WSL a shot. There are great tutorials for it. I'm going to have to reset this computer after November and fix a bunch of stuff. So whenever I do that, I'm definitely going to go and I'll record me setting how I set everything up, because at least personally, I like this setup a lot. That's why I use it. So hopefully this helps you out, and that's about it.